When your cat looks at you, what do they actually see? Most people assume the answer is simple. You're their human, their owner, the one who feeds them, takes care of them, lives with them. But what if that entire way of thinking is wrong? Because your cat doesn't experience you the way you experience yourself. They don't look at you and think human the way we categorize things. And once you understand what they do see, a lot of their behavior suddenly stops being confusing. Why they follow you into random rooms, why they stare at you after dropping something at your feet, why they rub against you then walk away like nothing happened. None of that is random. It all comes from one quiet truth most owners never realize. In your cat's world, you are not an outsider. You're something much closer than that. If your cat truly saw you as completely different, as something separate, distant, not part of their kind, they wouldn't treat you the way they do, because cats are very clear about boundaries. With strangers, they keep distance. With threats, they stay alert. With things they don't understand, they withdraw. But with you, they rub against your legs. They slow blink at you. They lie near you, sometimes touching, sometimes not. They even try to groom you in their own awkward way. These are not random gestures. These are social behaviors. The same ones cats use with other cats they trust. So whatever category your cat puts you in, it isn't other, it's closer to one of us, not identical, but included. And that's where things get interesting, because if you are part of their social world, then they're going to evaluate you using their standards, not yours. Think about it from their perspective for a second. You don't hunt, you don't chase anything that moves, you don't react to sounds the way they do, you don't use scent to navigate your world. Instead, you open containers, you press things, you make food appear out of nowhere. To a cat, that's not impressive. It's strange. You're big, you're loud, you move in ways that don't always make sense, and yet, you're consistent. You come back, you follow routines, you don't hurt them, you exist in their space without breaking the rules that matter. So over time, something shifts. You stop being that large, unpredictable creature and you become something else. A familiar presence, a tolerated one, eventually a trusted one. Not because you proved dominance, not because you forced affection, but because in their world you passed the quiet tests that matter. And once you're inside that circle, your cat doesn't just observe you, they start responding to you, sometimes, in ways that seem almost confusing, like when they bring you things, a toy, a piece of trash, an insect, sometimes even prey. They drop it near you, and then they just sit there, watching, waiting. Most people laugh this off, or feel a little uncomfortable, but very few people stop and ask, why would a cat do this? Specifically with me? Because in a cat's natural behavior, this isn't random at all. Experienced cats don't just hunt for themselves. They bring things back. They demonstrate. They expose less experienced members to what matters. At first, it's simple. Then it becomes more interactive. It's a process. So when your cat drops something in front of you, they're not just giving you a gift, they may be reacting to what they perceive as a gap in your behavior. Because from their point of view, you don't hunt, you don't practice survival skills the way they understand them, and yet somehow, you're still here, still alive, still functioning. It doesn't quite add up. So they step in the only way they know how, not to mock you, not to confuse you, but to include you, even if it looks strange from the outside. And this is where another misunderstanding comes in. A lot of people believe their cat recognizes them primarily by their face, that when a cat looks at you, they're reading your expression the way humans do. But that's not really how their world works. Cats don't rely heavily on facial detail the way we do. Their understanding of you is built from something much broader. Your movement, your voice, your scent, your patterns, your emotional rhythm. To your cat, you're not a static image. You're a living pattern they've memorized. The way you walk into a room, the sound your footsteps make, the tone you use when you speak to them versus someone else, even the way your energy shifts when you're calm or stressed or distracted. They read all of it, and over time, that collection becomes you. Not your face alone, but your presence, which is exactly why something else happens, something most people completely overlook. Adult cats don't usually communicate with each other using meows. They use body language, scent, subtle signals. Meowing, especially the kind directed at humans, is different. It's adapted. When your cat meows at you in a certain tone, and then uses a completely different sound in another situation, that's not accidental. That's adjustment. They've learned that you don't naturally understand their language, so they modified it, they created a version of communication that works with you. Think about that for a second. They didn't expect you to change first. They changed, just enough to reach you. Different sounds for food, different sounds for attention, different sounds for discomfort or curiosity. A whole system, built specifically for you. And when you step back and look at all of this together, something becomes very clear. The real question isn't, does my cat see me as human or not? Because that was never the point. The deeper question is, what role have you become inside their world? Because once a cat decides you belong there, really belong. Your presence starts to mean something much bigger than just familiarity. It begins to affect how safe they feel, how they move, how they rest, how much of themselves they're willing to show. And that's where everything shifts. Because once your cat lets you into that inner space, you stop being just something they recognize. You become something they rely on, in ways that are so quiet most people never even notice. Think about how your cat behaves when you enter a room. Not the obvious things, not the loud meow or the quick glance. Look closer. Sometimes their body softens, their tail settles, their movements slow down just a little. It's subtle, but it's there. That shift isn't boredom, it isn't laziness, it's regulation. In the wild, cats are built to stay alert, to monitor constantly, to scan for change, for movement, for anything that might matter. But when a cat feels safe, that constant edge fades. And if your presence causes that shift, even slightly, then to your cat, you're not just familiar, you're stabilizing. Your existence changes the atmosphere around them. This is why your routines matter more than you think. The time you wake up, the way you move through your home, the small repeated patterns you don't even realize you have. Your cat learns all of it, not as habits to copy, but as signals to trust. Because predictability in their world means safety. If you always return, if you move in ways they can anticipate, if your reactions don't suddenly become threatening, then your presence becomes something their nervous system can lean on. So when you walk into a room and your cat relaxes, that's not just recognition, that's relief. And then there's something even deeper, something you leave behind, even when you're not there, your scent. To humans, scent is secondary, something we barely notice unless it's strong. But to a cat, scent is structure. It defines space. It marks familiarity. It builds emotional maps. So when your cat curls up in your spot, sits on your clothes, rests on your pillow, they're not just being cute, they're surrounding themselves with you. Not visually, not conceptually, but chemically. And when they rub against you or press their face into your hand, they're not just marking you as territory, they're blending you into their world, creating a shared space where your scent and theirs overlap, where you and them stop being completely separate. That's also why certain behaviors feel so specific, like when your cat places a paw on you while you're lying still, or sits nearby, just watching, especially when you're asleep. From a human perspective, it can feel random, or even a little strange. But in their world, stillness changes everything. A sudden lack of movement is information. A shift in breathing is information. A difference in rhythm is information. So when your cat stays close, or gently touches you, it's not always a demand. Sometimes it's observation. Sometimes it's a quiet check, a way of confirming that the pattern they've learned, you, is still there. Still consistent, still safe. And when you put all of this together, the picture becomes clearer. You are not just the human who feeds them. You're not just a large creature they tolerate. You're something much more specific than that. In your cat's internal world, you become a combination of things, a familiar presence they've mapped in detail, a predictable force that reduces uncertainty, a source of safety that changes how deeply they can relax, a social being they've chosen to include, even if you don't behave like them. You are part of the environment, but more than that, you're part of what makes that environment feel secure. And here's the part most people never fully see, because they're looking for something louder, more obvious, more human. They expect their cat to show love the way a dog might. Direct, enthusiastic, constant. But cats don't work like that. Their version of connection is quieter, more precise, more selective. It shows up in small decisions, choosing your spot over an empty one, sitting near you without asking for attention, slow blinking, then looking away, following you, but keeping just enough distance. Even the way they speak to you, with sounds they don't use the same way with other cats, is part of that. A language shaped specifically for you. And maybe the strangest part of all is that your cat doesn't need to understand you completely, to choose you. They don't need you to move like them, or think like them, or experience the world the way they do. In fact, you don't. You're different, inconsistent, sometimes confusing, and yet, out of everything in their environment, all the sounds, all the movements, all the unpredictability, they decided you were safe enough to stay close to, safe enough to relax around, safe enough to include. So no, your cat doesn't look at you and think, this is a human, but that was never the point, because what you've become to them is something that doesn't really exist in human language. Not exactly an owner, not exactly a companion, not just part of the territory. You're something in between, a presence that anchors their world, without fully belonging to it. And for an animal that survives by staying cautious, by keeping distance, by trusting slowly if at all, being chosen like that, quietly, consistently, without announcement, means more than most people ever realize.